Hello and welcome to the Foxcatcher review show for the Victoria edition. My name's Julian Valence, joined as always in the studio by Clint Hutchison from racing.com. How was the week, Hutch?
The week was pretty good. Some great racing on the weekend.
Yes.
But firstly, how about the tan? You would be loving this weather that we're having in Melbourne.
Summer's extending out.
I know.
Now, last year we got it, but we didn't get the first part of the summer. This year we've had the early part of the summer, middle part of the summer. Now we're getting into autumn. And March and April last year was brilliant. If we can keep that, I tell you what.
I can say is I'm feeling very white.
You're having a good crack. Yeah. Let's get to the track intel, punters. All right, so Flemington, we're out 5 metres the entire circuit. Hutch, it's been hot conditions, so the good 4 upgraded to a good 3 after race 6. Times indicated that. Intel the straight, we spoke about this on the preview show on Thursday. We thought wide lanes would be an advantage the way this track would play with the rail going out a little bit, and that's exactly how it was. In terms of the circle, I thought it raced really well, but you sort of spoke about it off air as well, is you need to be on speed to some degree because the better class horses can run good times.
Oh, absolutely. They're running time from the front. Nothing worse than I think about 4 lengths at the 600. But, as you said, you expect that. And those wider lanes in the straight, that was the spot to be. There were a few forgive runs on but they worked it out pretty quick, didn't they?
Well, they worked it out pretty quick. But setting fire to it, we'll be talking about. They didn't work it out quick enough, in my opinion. That's the track intel this week. Let's get to the Hen House. Hutch is a bit in this, so there's a bit to get through, but there's also some differing opinions here. So this is going to be...
Can I say one thing before you get into it?
Yeah.
I think you might have taken your happy pills this week because when I picked up the rundown here and I've had a look, I've thought he's made a mistake here. There's all these races in the Hen House. What is going on?
Well, what I will say is the last 2 that are in the Hen House are in the Group 1s. We just wanted to talk about the Group 1s. They probably haven't rated that high. But in saying that, I've still got 3 that I've identified for the Hen House, and you're a little bit different to that. So let's get into them to begin with. I've got race 2 going pretty well here, Hutch. Won by the 2-year-old Military Tycoon. 57.89, equal to my standard time. The last 400, 200 was pretty white hot. So they came home really good. But this horse is off 123 days. It only had the 1 run. It was only, probably below fair. Market wanted to be with it, and I thought it was really good. I think there's something in this horse. I don't know where they go because it's now sort of in a bit of a tricky spot of what races are around, but it's as good a 2. There's not many 2-year-olds that are standing out there being superstars. It's going to make some noise.
We'll talk about that in a little while as well, won't we? Well, I don't know what the field was doing here. They crawled and sprinted. I didn't learn a lot from it. The numbers overall weren't great for me. Jury's out. I'm not convinced, but I'm not knocking what you're saying about, he could be, better than a few of the others because nothing's putting their hand up.
No, they're absolutely not. So now I'm putting in the Hen House. Hutchie's on the fence, maybe a little bit doggy house.
Yes,
for
more
military.
so dog house.
Yeah, more dog house for Hutch. So let's we'll have another lunch on that one to see when that horse runs again and see what happens with its price. Race 3, this horse was first up. It was a pretty good performance, I thought. My Temptation, you can see that the market spat it out. I think that was gate 1 only was the issue there. Quarter of a second inside standard time, last 400, 200, pretty good compared to the rest of the day. I like this race. I think it's rated really well, but I really liked it. Could end up being winner only because I liked this horse for the fact that Craig got it into a great spot, to be honest. So I think before the race, the market was worrying that if they're going to go back down to the inside rail, it's got absolutely 0. Like what they did in race 2. But he rode it really well. I thought it was really good that this horse is, off 70 days. He'd won his first 3. I think there's some more in this horse.
Yeah, he's 4 from 4, My Temptation, so you can't really knock him, can you? He's going particularly well. I don't know how he got that spot and, I was willing to take him on because he drew that barrier and I was pretty happy to be doing so. And then halfway through the race was just feeling a little bit sick.
Just on that,
with the
I'm
run
going to just quickly ask you, what competitive riding in Victoria at the moment, are we there? Are we really looking at some hard competitive stuff? I'm just a little bit concerned. Sometimes we're just going, you can go there. Yeah, I'll give you that spot.
There's no doubt, I think. I think, you see that quite a bit, don't you? I think the bigger races, all the big boys sort of flex their muscles a little more.
It was quite competitive, the All-Star Mile, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about that a little later. But I think, there's so much racing and, but I think he did find a pretty good spot quite easily.
Yep. All right. So that's another one for Hen House for me. Again, Hutchi just a little bit on the fence with that one. But
No,
you think
I don't think it went anything special. It's sort of, I think My Temptation's a nice horse, and I take your point on board. I mean, you're 4 from 4. It's not easy to do. Not massive off the break because I think it went out on a bit of a high.
That's true.
And a little fresh.
It was only 70 days too. It wasn't like that
long break. But you know what was good? My Temptation won down the straight. So there's some options there for EJ
versatility,
in terms of where they want to go.
Yep. This race, I think we agree. Race 4. The horse's name is It Me? He's a boy. He went 1 1/4 seconds inside standard time. Look, his last 400, 200 is pretty good. 22.58, 11.41 off a really hot tempo. He has gone to a new level, this horse. 3, I think, in a row this prep. They've, I think, all been at Flemington. So maybe he's a big track horse because he is a big gross horse, but he's doing some real good things.
He might be a big track horse, but the fact is that he's running unbelievable time.
Yep.
At Flemington, which is not a bad place to run good time.
Yeah, they run some good races there sometimes.
He's dropped, what did he drop? 6 kilos. I know the weight's not everything for everyone, but, sometimes those horses, you think, oh, well, this is the opportunity for them to take that next level with the weight drop. And it was brilliantly placed, I think, by Dan Bowman, and he did.
Yeah.
He went to that new level with the weight drop. So, the way he's flying at the moment, look, they can aim high. I think he's clearly got a high-level stakes race in him.
Yep.
The way he's going at the moment. The thing is, where do they go now?
What would you do with him if you had him?
Well, I think the Sir Rupert Clark next prep's the logical sort of progression for him.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not going to be at Flemington.
Yeah, go to Caulfield, but that's okay. But I think you're right. That seems to be the right race. And if they said, oh, let's, do we try and – I mean, there's other races around the country, and the other one you'd probably look at is like a Stradbroke. Something like that sets up because it's a handicap as well.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Stradbroke.
So, but he is going just super. So, and we talked about weight and what it means. I think for the punters out there to try and understand it, some horses that are on speed, say for example, a horse like Duke de Sessa, I think if it went 58 to 53, it doesn't have that much impact because it's a high rolling kind of horse. It doesn't have that super hard blistering turn of foot. A horse like Is It Me that can show a great turn of foot. When it goes from 59 to 54, I think it does impact and it absolutely has huge importance on their overall profile. So, certain horses it suits, but he's a ripper. Is It Me? Next 2 races we're going to get to are the Group 1s. And we're going to start with the All-Star Mile. It was won by Tom Kitten. Look, 3/4 of a second outside standard time. So you can see they've gone pretty slow. Last 400, 200, they actually haven't come home as even better than Is It Me. So this race overall hasn't rated through the roof, but in terms of just the spectacle, small field, it was so tactical. You knew what Craig was trying to do, that just to cuddle Mr. Broadside, knowing the fact that another Will would be back behind him and couldn't get out. And he might have not realised, actually, there's Tom Kitten's in the race as well and he's going to come over the top of me.
Won the battle, lost the war.
To be honest, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I mean, he could see him sort of taking those peaks over the shoulder. I understand. We all can see what he was trying to do, and I think he executed it well with regard to another Will. But that allowed Tom Kitten to build the revs up and get there on the line. And I think he waited too long personally. But if he goes earlier, I think another Will wins the race.
Yeah, actually. Well, I think he was unlucky.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, wasn't convinced about that when I saw the normal vision. And this is the other thing about that overhead shot that you really see. You realise how well the horse was travelling into it, and only borderline 3/4 of a length off. And
Jamie's nearly fell too.
She went for a gap that wasn't there.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So, but, going forward, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think and another Will was heavily backed.
Yes.
Heavily backed.
Yes.
He has clearly arrived, which he showed on his first up run. I think with even luck, he could have won this.
Yep.
Tom Kitten, since he's been gelded, looks a different horse as well.
Can't fault his form.
Yeah, could have won first up, and then he's been terrific there. So, I'll tell you what, it's interesting. I mean, any one of those 3 going forward, you could make a bit of a case for.
Yeah, and I suppose all 3 will go to Sydney. So then it comes back into the fact that, now might be working on some wet tracks, but it'll be interesting to see where they go. I think the mail was, I was thinking George Ryder, Mr. Brightside, which wasn't originally on the plan, but I think they're going there now. And I don't know where they go another Will. Like, do they still think they might have a winnable weight in a Doncaster? I'm not too sure. So
the Doncaster hasn't been a good race for him, has it?
No, he ran last year, innit? So he won the Doncaster Prelude to get into it the week before and just didn't work out on the quick back up. But he did start short price favourite in it. So, but he's a much he seems a much rounder horse now.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But that was the All-Star Mile. The second Group 1 at Flemington was the Newmarket Handicap. It's a grand final, so you might as well just go, well, Chris Waller will probably get the winner because he seems to have the grand final sorted. So Jolly Star, she wins the race, quarter of a second inside standard time, last 400, 200 okay compared to the rest of the day, but probably after about 250 metres, it seemed like, oh yeah, she's here to play. She put herself in a great spot.
Yeah, she did. I've did it myself, actually. We've been talking about back markers suited down the straight because they're not so far off them, and she was just parked back in. Not that she's a dead set back marker, but she often does settle off midfield or worse, but Damien Lane got off her and said, I've never been so confident in a Group 1, and you can see why the way she's put them away. What did she beat, though? What does she actually beat?
The second horse, Headwall, who's, continually improving, but he's ran right up to that. Headwall. Third, Stretton Angel, I think. We sort of know her. She's going to be a horse that's probably going to be competitive in a Sangster, probably in Adelaide, a little bit later in May.
I'm looking at the numbers. It's a sound effort, and she needed to sort of win one of these Jolly Star because there's a few of these hype horses, and we might touch on that later, Jules.
Yes,
but she's been gonna, but she did it there on the weekend.
Yeah, well, to be honest, in the spring she put that massive number up first up, and everyone was like, "Well, here's the new Everest favourite," and then she just sort of gradually fell off the cliff. So whether she went too big in that first race, and then she just couldn't, hold that form, but she's come out. She still hasn't come out and won. Ran a bigger number than what she did first up in the spring, but, we know that she's got that number there somewhere, I suppose, so the market's always going to gravitate towards her, and she was heavily backed. We'll get to her in the hits and misses a little bit later as well, Hutch. So a good performance by her, but again, just sort of strengthens that theory that grand final time, the bloke that trains these horses just seems to continually be able to do it.
Got a few in the arsenal, but I think they make some interesting placements with some of their horses, but this one looked a very good race for her, and she delivered. And I think she can step up and be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, they'll go to the TJ now, I suppose.
Yeah, she'll be very
she's going to be competitive. Yeah, she's going to start single figures in that. There's no doubting that. So she deserves her place in the way for aged ranks for sure. So that was Jolly Star. That's the end of the Hen House. Okay, let's get to the Dog House. Just the one race for me here, Hutch, that I think going forward, no knock on the connections, no knock on anything for winning the race, but just going forward, I think we can be a little bit mindful of possibly being against this race. The winner was Jenny Lala, quarter of a second outside standard time, but kicker that worries me for this race is they've just a tick beaten 12 seconds, 11.95 that last 200. So, look, this horse is off 147 days, so you can say, okay, there might be some improvement for this horse. These other mares that seem to be sort of battling around that we see a little bit, the So Glamourouses, the Road to Aratakis, there's a few more as well. Smoking Princess is probably she ran competitively again, but that might be her mark. Just think, let's look different form line now when we see these again.
Good. Yeah, I think it's a fair call. I didn't really like the race. It was sort of a bit average or a bit as far as I look at the sort of overall picture of it. But I will say this, Gavin Bedgood's taken the horse over and, done a very good job. And tell you what, he's a young trainer that can pick one up off a big yard, and it doesn't always happen that way, and get a result. So maybe Jenny Lala can improve a bit off that, but I wasn't overly taken with the overall race. I'm with you in this one.
Yeah, I just think the market's going to take a bit of a set against this race. So if we do get different form lines in, even if they're off the beaten track, maybe lean into those ones from that. So that was the Dog House this week. Hits and misses from the points bet market here, Hutch, and there's a few here to get through. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of these horses because I'll be fascinated in your ideas here. In race 1, Gallant Sun was first up off 126 days. It promised a lot, this horse. $3.50 into $2.30. Now, it's got a miss, it runs third, but can we be forgiving because it was on the inside and you could see the jock was trying to get to the outside all the way, sort of that last 300 metres? Can we be forgiven or are we too burnt?
No, you have to forgive. It was a clear advantage out in the wider lanes, draws the other side, who knows?
Yeah.
This is one where you got a pattern potentially against. You look at the market support, albeit what it was up against, and Gallant Sun, and you say, right, this horse they wanted to be with, and you can understand why. Definitely Gallant Sun deserves another chance.
Totally agree with you there. Race 2, Military Tycoon hits $8 into $4.60. I'm being with this horse. Hutch is against it, so the lunch is on there, but market wanted to be with it, so that's a positive. Race 3. This is an interesting one too. I want to get your thoughts on. Wolfie, $4.80 into $3.80. Unplaced. I think it runs 4th. Any thoughts on this one?
Some of that money was mine.
Just got to an awkward spot.
Oh, look, I've had enough.
He was unlucky to start before too, wasn't he?
He is perpetually unlucky. You know, and you know what? He doesn't have much speed. So he's a bit slow away. He gets crowded. He gets spat out the back. It was a huge run, but he's going to keep doing that until he can take a spot. He's got the ability. I mean, it was to win a race like that, but I just feel like now I've had to have a good look in the mirror, Jules, and go, you know. I mean, you've had a few of those over your time as well.
A few. Yeah, exactly.
I've had enough. Wolfie and me are done. No more.
Back Wolfie next start tomorrow.
Yes,
Hutchi's
exactly. 100%. That's how it works.
Race 4, Is It Me? $3.30 into $2.50. Also, Fancify was $4.40 into $3.40. It misses. There's two different sort of stories here. Is It Me? Yes. We just want to be with it forever wherever it goes. Yes. Fancify. I think I've had enough of Fancify now.
Yeah, sort of wolfy areas.
Yeah, outstanding last prep. Did some big numbers at Flemington at the 1,400-metre dry track, absolutely. First up, enormous behind She's Bulletproof. Huge run. So, yes, okay, we're going to be with it. Then you could forgive maybe in the Typhoon when it ran sort of just off the map. Again, really well backed on Saturday. For me, I think the horse is a good horse, but I reckon it's done for the prep. I can't be backing it again. So if they decide, I know Connections are smarter than me, they might decide, okay, let's go to the paddock, give her a good break, and then bring her back and see if we can get her back to that number because she's got it in her, but I think she might be busted after the first up run.
Well, it could be. I mean, I think she was flattered last prep with a bias on side.
Yeah, possibly.
And she was a bit flattered first up at Sandown on an easy tempo.
Yep.
With good horses around her. So, and then maybe she has had enough, I don't know, but I haven't sort of been with her, so I'm not waking up with chills about her anyway.
Yeah, okay, very good. Race 5, Sunlit Serenade, $26 into $7, misses, unplaced. Don't know where the support was for this horse, but it was quite large. I don't think we need to be buttering up punters for me.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Race 6, it hits here, Middle Earth. It's a horse that comes from international, so usually they're off the map, and usually, you know what they do? They win.
Oh, yeah, but come on.
$5.50 into $3.50. It hits. And if you're going to say something, what I think you're going to say, do you reckon? Do you reckon? Do you reckon?
I mean, yeah, go and, praise the Lord or something after that win because Duke de Sessa should have won by 3.
You reckon?
5.
So here's the thing with Duke de Sessa. I don't think he's got, I think if he sits a pair closer, so if he's outside lead, he wins the race because I think he's a high rolling horse that you need to get going and get moving. Yes, he looked really unlucky, but I don't know. Even if did he have through the line? Was he going to go past him?
He would. You wouldn't have seen which way he went if he could have got going when he needed to.
Maybe, yeah, but I think you need to get going on Juice de Sessa at the 600.
Jules,
I saw the race. I know what he was. I know he was bottled up, and it was cute, and it was looking like, oh my gosh, you can't jump them. Then I just saw it when it got out. Yes, no doubt. It goes back to the inside and accelerates. Yes. I'm still not sure on the line if it had got out 100 metres earlier, if it beats Middle Earth. I don't know. It's just not that kind of horse. I just don't know if it's got that really blistering turn of foot.
But that's even more the reason if he gets that gap earlier.
Correct, yeah.
And if he is parked in the right position.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, let's put it this way.
I want him outside leader. I don't want him behind horses.
Yeah, if he gets and that comes into a chatting point about another horse, doesn't it? But if he could build when he wants to, all things being equal, he wins it easily.
Yes, if he's outside lead, which I think's his strength. So when he was backing behind him, I was like, well, you're not going to have to turn a foot anyway, even if it looks really like he's going to be cuddled. I just don't know if he's got that blistering. But I 100% agree with you. But I wanted him outside lead and he wasn't there.
Yeah, well, so they stuffed up the tactics.
There you go.
Okay.
So we got there in the end. Race 8, Treasure the Moment. Oh, my gosh. Can we love her anymore? $1.72 into $1.52. The market wanted to be with her, as they should. She was outrageous first up, winning when they went forward. Here, Damien it was actually, to be honest, a fantastic ride from the wide gate. But she's got versatility, so she allows him to do those kinds of things. It's rated really well. It's gone fast, really fast race.
Huge. She's my new favourite horse. Superstar.
Yeah.
We need that next generation coming through, and we're looking at her. Yeah. I mean, her spring was unbelievable, wasn't it? Yeah. And she's come back.
Yeah.
She may have come back even better.
Yeah, which is great. And I know I've spoken about this before about Treasure in a Moment, that I think when she becomes the 4-year-old mare, she the 1,600 metres is her go. I know they're going to extend her out to 2,000 metres plus for the Oaks, and they want to do that in Sydney. I get all that, but the Empire Rose and, even a good 2,000 metre race away for age is right up her alley from what she's doing at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know what her best trip is. I don't think that, that Oaks mile and a half.
I get it when they're 3, they just want to win those, and I get it. But
I would say this, anywhere from 16 to 2,000 or 1,600 metres to 2,000, I'm happy to follow her in.
Yeah.
She's got tactical speed.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen one that she's got the race parcelled up 3 furlongs out, 600 metres to go.
It was a painless watch, wasn't it? It was beautiful.
She is better than any of those. She's way ahead of her grade, and I think she will step up in time, and she probably could, on this sort of performance, she could probably step up against some of the others now at weight for age and go real well.
Yeah, I think next she goes to the Vinery over 2,000 metres up in Sydney, so she takes her own age again and her own sex. She'll start in the red and, even luck, she's probably the winner. Race 9, Jolly Star. Waller Grand Final, $4.60 into $3.40. After 200 metres, you were pretty safe if you'd backed her, weren't you?
I made a mistake.
Race 10, so glamorous. They wanted to be with the Graham Begg horse here. $8 into $4.40. She misses and she runs unplaced. She went back up on the inside. As much as, she didn't have a lot of room, I still thought she probably had her chance. She's getting to a level now where she runs really well, but she doesn't win enough.
I backed her previous 2 starts and I'd had enough, and I was glad that I stayed away on the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, she was heavily backed, and I could kind of get it because she was set a task to start before.
Yeah.
But she was in a good spot there on the weekend.
Yeah.
There were no excuses, and I thought she was playing the last 100.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pot this one as well and then watch it come out and win.
Yes.
But no, you can deal me out of So Glamorous.
All right, so that's the hits and misses for the points bet market. All right, setting fire to it, Hutch. So we spoke about the straight races on Thursday in the preview show. We spoke about that we thought with the rail out 5 metres, good track, upgrade probably early, that you would need to be in the wide lanes. Now, we watched race 1 and you could see, I think very, very clearly that the third horse, Gallant Sun, and the jock who drew the inside but just wanted to keep creeping out as far as they could to the outside place without getting there. Now, they split in race 1. I think there was 3 or 4 horses. Gallant Sun was the best of them. The other 2 were in a different suburb. And so then in race 2, I'm like, okay, I know it's 2-year-olds and I know they probably want that inside running, but they're not going to split here. They're just not. And as you can see now, what do? The jockeys split. So you could, if you were going to that inside section and you thought, well, maybe they'll just try and suck across. Well, money, fire, don't mix. No money left.
The only thing I would say is you are only going off one race, right? So you've seen one race. I agree with you to a point. It's enough for you. But this is the other thing. Sometimes you wonder what some of them are looking at. But it is only one race.
I get it was only one race, but I thought it was enough. I thought it was damning enough because I think it was Damien Lane on Gallant Sun. I might be wrong. That he was still trying to creep across.
Well, I think to offset that somewhat and just to balance it out a bit, and I agree with you to an extent. The race fell apart on his side, and the horses on his side fell apart. He's left in no man's land.
Yeah.
The body of the horses were still there to chase and to race against, and he had a chasm to get over, but he did want to get over there. Yeah. But I think there was enough there if you're watching the races all the time to say we want to be out wide. And let's be honest, 19 weeks out of 20, it's better out there. It should be a default. Like we're going to move out there.
Yeah.
So,
and after the fact and all that kind of stuff, then race 3, the winner that Craig Williams rides draws 1 by Temptation. What does he do? He goes, I've got to get across.
Well, the whole body of the field went there.
Correct. They did.
So you could follow him across.
They did. So why didn't they do it in race 2? That's all I'm saying. It was set fire to. Do it earlier. Okay, time now, Hutch, for In the Fox's Den. So get the black book out, some horses that you might have seen over the last week that you can push the punters into. What do you got for us?
Been a bit of jockey bashing on the show, hasn't there? And without naming anybody.
Yes.
Keeping
them honest.
I'm not sure who wrote this, but I can tell you what, handing up the lead is not always ideal, particularly. I understand why they do it some of the time, but Stage and Screen at Moonee Valley, look, bought some pretty good figures from that last preparation. Went to the Valley. They handed it up. They obviously didn't want a hard run and, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I thought there were clear excuses and it was a really good run. And I don't know where they'll go. I was sort of surprised they went to a benchmark race, but a horse that's got good upside with Tiaco, they seem to be winning everything.
Yes.
And then King Zephyr from Sandown ran very good time. Clearly best sort of performance of the day with the right stable. And I think this is a horse that they will be aiming high and they will be getting a result.
He's got Learjet, half Learjet in him. I think King Zephyr, that was very, very impressive on Wednesday at Sandown. 2 for me. A horse called Heavenly Way, just won an Ararat maiden, but I think we can follow it. 3-year-old filly, Mitch Friedman camp. It's gone high with me, so let's follow it wherever they might go. And the other one, I just want to add in, this horse just had no luck in the new mark, and I reckon she's going really well. She had the top weight. I didn't think her race was on Saturday. I thought she wasn't really well suited, but she could go back to Adelaide and be really competitive. Benedetta.
Yeah.
She had no luck whatsoever. So I think she's flying. She was good first up. Again, not much luck. The form guide's going to say probably a 0 next to her name. It was much better than that. So they're the 2 for me, 2 from Hutch as well. That's in the Fox's Den. Okay, think outside the Fox. This is just an opportunity now for Hutch to yell at me and tell me how wrong I am about certain things. So
bring it on.
Okay,
Mr. Valance. The Blue Diamond, you were very, very critical about that. Did it make the doghouse? Was it in the doghouse?
It was well and truly in the doghouse.
Okay, I'm going to go. Pauline Hanson, please explain.
So it stays in the doghouse, and those Sydney races that they beat up on Saturday can go in the doghouse. No, the Tempted has gone great in Sydney on Saturday, so that race has gone really well. I'm still not so sure about the boys one, but it continues to raise the plant, that Tetrietus or whatever it's called. It was very, very good. So, look, overall, I thought the race went poorly, and maybe I was a bit too harsh on it, but we're all starting to feel that these 2-year-olds, whether they're from Sydney, Brisbane, Tasmania, Antarctica, aren't much bloody good.
Yeah. But the format of the diamond is
holding up.
Well.
It's holding up. It's stacking up. It's stacking up well.
At this early stage.
They'll run 1, 2, 3, 4 in the slipper.
And Wotan also. Now, this was the hype horse, and I want to talk to you about hype horses in a moment. But firstly, just quickly, I know you talked to Nic about it.
Yeah.
But Wotan, what happens now?
Well, I mean, he gets into the slipper. So the only thing you can hold on to with Wotan now is quite a big thing, is grand final Waller.
Oh.
That's the only thing you can hold on to because he had every chance on Saturday, I thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely every chance. But it wasn't the grand final. So we know the camp lift to another level.
And how about this for the punters? And this is just more so, a lot of us all talk about how horses are rated and where they're at and the hype that is built around. And I think of it just in the last 12 months about some of the horses. I mean, Storm Boy last year that was going to be the next coming of superstar.
Yeah.
Broadsiding. I don't think there's been a bigger hype into the spring than Broadsiding. Yeah. I know you'll talk to Nic about him, so I don't want to talk about specific horses. But have you got advice for those that, it seems like there's a lot of horses that are overhyped and they're underpriced. They're too short.
They seem to be, and part of that is talking horses. So horses that sort of can generate, their own exposure, sort of beat just racing. So, and the thing that the punters need to understand is the corps understand this. They know horses like Broadsiding. They know horses like Storm Boy, and there's probably other ones as well. Maybe even Via Sistina's getting into that space, but she's winning. And so they will put the price in as short as they can.
Yeah.
Because they know they're going to lay it anyway. So we'll put him up as short. We'll put him up $1.50.
And you know what?
And the price holds.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, and this is not even really the hype necessarily, but it's even a horse like Brightsider, who we know have his big following. Like he started a lot short. Well, he didn't start short. He opened the betting shorter than like another Will, who was absolutely truck-loaded late. But from that point, obviously sometimes you just got to build a little bit of that into your...
Yeah, absolutely. And the corps will eventually get found out, but it's not usually till the 5 minutes probably to go in betting when, the bigger guys get involved and say, hey, we're not putting up with that crap, and they'll charge into one or two others. But for the layman punter out there, they're just saying, oh, $1.60 Broadside, I've heard of that horse. Yeah, he always wins, whatever it is, and they're just falling into it. So you've got to be careful of that, but that's the game now, that how it's played and how the corps definitely are playing it with those big talking horses. They're putting them up as short as they can, so they can sell them as short as they
No,
can.
I think they're all really good points, Jules. And I'll be only one thing to leave you on as well before you move on. Are you going to a beautiful week weather-wise?
Yeah, it is good.
So are you going to come in a shade darker next week?
I'm trying to. To be honest, I'm hoping to.
Yeah.
That's the way to be. So, we'll get out there and coconut oil it up and we'll see how we go. Thanks, Hutch. That was fun.
Yeah, no, it was good fun.
Got through it there. That was the Melbourne edition. Hutch out. In now, Nick Ashman, as we go through Randwick. How are you, Nico?
Really good, Jules. We had a great day racing up here at Randwick, of course, the slipper puzzle. Well, we got a couple more pieces there. We Tempted and Tentris for Godolphin, both winning. Of course, one for James Cummings, one for Anthony Freeman. We saw Gay Waterhouse unearth a genuine Sydney Cup prospect, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Commemorative was great in the last. I think the sky's the limit for that mare. And while all that was going on, we had the Randwick Guineas being run and the Canterbury Stakes, and we'll dissect both those two races. I thought the Guineas was a tad disappointing looking at the figures, but one thing we learned is that linebacker definitely likes more genuine tempo than what he got in his previous run.
All right, beautiful. So let's start with the track analysis, the track intel of how this track played. Is there any learnings we can have out of this? We're in the 3 metre entire circuit. The rail was out 3 metres the entire, mate. What do you got for the punters?
Yeah, look, 2 leaders won. 5 of the 10 winners settled 6 or worse in running. Winning lanes ranged from 1 to 12. I thought the track played really well, Jules. Yep. I got no issue with it. And I reckon any horse or any trainer, jockey, owner, punter using the track as an excuse is probably got themselves to blame.
Okay, very good. That is the track intel. Let's get to the Hen House. So let's get to the races that we think we can follow with confidence, that we can possibly put our chips into when we see these horses run again. Let's start because you've ticked off with one of the 2-year-old races here. It's race 3, won by the filly Tempted.
Yeah, I thought she was really good. Now, the query coming into this race was, was she still with us? She was coming out of, she had sort of had a run up here in Sydney. She went to Melbourne for the Blue Diamond. Not much went right in that race. And then she had to come back to Sydney. So we'll talk about the market with her. It was very much with her late in the piece. They absolutely whacked her. And overall time here, 108.68. That's about 3/4 of a second inside standard time. Last 400, 200, 23.36. 11.56 is the key. Last 400 was nothing flash, but 11.56 was identical to what the boys came home in. And I just thought, well, given the overall time was decisively faster than the boys, last 200 metres was pretty much bang on the same. I think you've got to say advantage to the girls here. Now, it does come with a caveat. We'll talk about that a bit later on. But I thought she was really good. Tempted market knew she was going to do that. The query now becomes, of course, can she replicate it again in 2 weeks' time? But if she does it, she's going to be right in the mix.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, the stuff that I sort of work off as well. She's right in the mix, I think, for the Golden Slipper off that performance. Next race we go to is race 6. It was over a sprint journey. Winner was Jetabil.
Yeah, she was good first up from a spell. Brad Widdett, tongue tie off, please. His stable's going really good, striking at 26%, about 17% pot in recent times. But Jetabil, she was good. She showed good dash. Overall time, almost a full second inside standard time. Last 400, 200, best of the day, 22.12 and 11.36. She was good. I thought Komochi was good as well. We'll talk about her a bit later on, having first go at 1,000 metres. I think this is a race you can follow going forward.
Good. Race 6, Jetabil, that race we can put into our back pocket. And the last race, Commemorative. Well, you spoke about this horse a little bit a couple of weeks ago saying if this horse goes to the Winona Girl race, we want to be with her. You put it in your New South Wales set, you backed her, and she didn't let you down. So well done on sort of selecting that 3 weeks ago, but also she's going places, this mare.
Yeah, she was the winner of the day for mine, the star of the show. So I just wrote a report just before we came on to record this. Her 3 career peak ratings have now been in the last 3 starts. When you look at her, she's a massive unit. And I think she's just starting to put it all together. Quite often those really big horses take just that little bit longer to sort of realise what they've got under the bonnet. She's got a good, strong finish on her. I don't think she's anything more than a sprinter. She might get 1,400 metres with the right race shape, but she was able to come off. She ran 107.88. It's more than half a second inside standard time. Last 400, 22.28. That's pretty good going. And 11.28, that's the race time. And she was even quicker than that. So this is a mare that I think, look, if James Cummings said, we're actually going to have a crack at the Galaxy in 2 weeks' time, which I think it's in 2 weeks, I think she could win that race, Jules, and I hope that's where they go. The safe play is obviously to go to the birthday card at Randwick, and no doubt she's more of a Randwick horse than a Rose Hill course, but gee, I tell you what, I reckon you've got to give her a chance in a Group 1 handicap before her rating gets too high. I think she gets into a Galaxy, and I think she could win it.
Yeah, that's the really interesting point here is sometimes you've got to strike while the iron's hot, that she's going to be down in the weights in a race like the Galaxy. She's not maybe in 6 months' time or in 12 months' time, she probably can't be afforded to run in the Galaxy because, as you say, she might win some better races and her rating's going to be higher. She's going to be ending up carrying 55 or 56, whereas she might be right down in the weights. The two things that, and you've sort of mentioned in particular, she is a big horse. She's probably better at a big track. Is Rose Hill the slight concern and she becoming 1,200 back to 1,100 metres? Are they two slight worries, or you think the Galaxy is going to be running at a fast speed? That's probably going to okay from 1,200 back to 1,100. And if she can draw somewhat wideish, maybe it's okay going back to Rose Hill.
Look, I think she can. I think she's okay. Look, the Galaxy fast run race back 100 metres. The race pace on Saturday wasn't overly fast. It was quick enough, but she was a fair few lengths off them. So I feel like there's still some freshness in her legs. You look at her last 200 metre time; it was pretty slick. It was top 10 ranking for the day. So it tells me like she wasn't out on her feet. So it's the right race shape if you are going to come back. I'd love 3 weeks between runs, not 2. But I still think, Rose Hill's not going to be her track, but I just think you've got to have a crack.
Yeah.
So I hope JC has a go at it because I'd rather see her go around in a Galaxy. I think we'd probably get double figures in that race, and I'd back her looking at what's around. I don't know if you know where Headwall's going, but if he comes back from the Newmarket, he's not far off them either. He's the kind of horse that could probably win a Galaxy. And there's a couple others putting their hand up, and no doubt the 3-year-olds have a say, Traffic Warden and so forth. But I do think that this mare's a smoky in that kind of a race.
Yeah, I think a horse like Headwall probably goes back to the Galaxy. The other theory they might say with Headwall is they might even just have a crack at the William Reid, which is way for age and probably not suited to him, but he is going really well that way of going in Victoria, Headwall, and obviously Private Harry's going to run around probably a short price favourite in the Galaxy, but he's going to have to do it first up. And it's always hard to win those races over 1,100 or even 1,200 first up. So there's a bit to play out there, but I can see what you're thinking is. That was the Hen House this week with Nick Ashman and Randwick. All right, let's get to the Doghouse, mate. So you've put one race in here, and it's a bit of a talking race for sure. So I like your thinking here. It was the Randwick Guineas.
Well, you know what me, Jules. I love to, got that Aussie spirit in me. I love the tall poppy syndrome. So everyone was expecting this to be the race of the day. So I'm just looking for a way to give it a bit of a clip.
It's gone no good,
the
mate.
Randwick
You're right.
Guineas. It's gone hopeless. Well, I thought it had anyway. I mean, they went 4 lengths through the first 1,000 metres, and they've basically run bang on standard time. Last 400, 200, 23, 32, 11.72. I don't think, if they run that time, if those horses come out of this and go to a George Ryder, they're going to occupy, a horse like Broadside will occupy a percentage of the market, and I can't be with him off this. Linebacker, I think what we learned about him is that, as I said off the top, he likes a good fast tempo. He's not necessarily that good, but he likes a good fast tempo, and he got it on Saturday. Aliana's a horse that we'll talk about just for a second here if I can.
Yeah.
She's the one that can improve. She lost her spot on the point of the bend, and she got out sprinted. I thought Jason Colleton, it's easy to be an armchair jockey, but I thought he probably missed the boat a bit. I would have been a bit more aggressive on her, got up outside broadsiding, and not had Swift Falcon put me in a pocket. Easy to say when you're sitting on the couch. But I think that's where she probably should have been. And she was good through the line. She can go back to the fillies. The problem is she's got to face a horse called Treasure at the moment who looks an absolute star, which we'll talk about later on. But I do think Aliana, if she'd be the horse that I probably want to follow out of the race just because I think there's more options for her. I just don't know about these others. I was really disappointed with the time that they ran.
Yep.
And I don't know what to make of Swift Falcon. I thought he was a genuine Doncaster chance. Now I'm not so sure of that. I will say this, maybe because he went so good first up, he's gone flat second up in a fast run mile. So it was a slowly run 1,400 first up, Jules. Yep. Fast run second 100. You and I have spoken about this a couple of times recently. Maybe he just wasn't ready for it. I'd be happy to judge him again, But I don't know if they can win a George Ryder off that. Again, let's see him in a Doncaster Mile prelude. Let's let him put his own hand up and say, hey, I'm still a Donny chance. I can get myself into the race this way, back up in a week's time in the Randwick Mile.
Okay, so that's the Doghouse in the Randwick Guineas, but some really good analysis around a few of those horses there. In particular, maybe the filly who probably goes to the Vinery to take on, obviously, as we mentioned earlier in the show with Hutch, Treasure the Moment, who absolutely kicked the heads in of the other fillies down in Melbourne. Let's get to the hits and misses for the points bet market here, Nico. So horses that were backed, and possibly do we want to continue to be with them, or were they backed just purely for a Saturday point of view? Race 3's the kickoff. Tempted. We spoke about her. You put it in the Hen House, $3.50 into $2.85. The market was bang on. It hits. She wins. I think we can, from what you sort of saying to me earlier from the Hen House, we can follow with some confidence.
Yes, it comes with a caveat. So, look, she had a soft run up here in Sydney 3 starts ago. Timmy Clark rode her that day, and you can see him pull her back from the barrier, duck back to the inside, and she was ridden to finish through the line. She goes down to Melbourne. She runs in a Blue Diamond Stakes. If you watch the overhead replay, which you can watch on the racing.com app, she had no luck. She got held up the whole way. She only got out the 150, and she was pretty strong through the line in a race that was dominated by horses down, up and in, down towards the inside. And then she came up here on Saturday. She gets that lovely big track at Randwick, which has got a bit more room to move than Caulfield and Rose Hill. And she had a wider gate. J-Mac jumps in, and just everything panned out. And I think the market read that about her. Now, she was 4th up in her first prep, depending on what you want to call that little 6-week freshen up she had over the Christmas break. But she was sort of 4th up first prep. Market said she was fine. She was ready to go on Saturday. The question now becomes, when I look at those figures, was that her grand final last Saturday? Can she go again after being in Melbourne and back? If she can, for mine, she's the one to beat in the slipper. But there's that little small query that she had the grand final on Saturday.
Okay, race 5 is a horse called It's a Knockout, $4 into $3. Miss, runs 3rd. Follow it with confidence, or was it just purely they just wanted to be with it on Saturday?
I had to dig a bit deep on this one, Julesy. You threw me a bit of a curveball. Second up last prep, so it only had one preparation before this one, so it's only in second prep. It went a little bit flat second up. It was the only time it was beaten. It won either start, one debut, one third up, got beaten second up, maybe went a touch flat there. So this might be a pattern emerging for this galloper, that it goes well first up, flat second up. It's too early to tell. We'll find out next prep, but I wouldn't be dropping off it, no.
Yep. Race 6, I Am Me, $3.10 into $2.70. Again, misses, runs 3rd, like it was competitive. But when you're at that price point, probably below market expectation.
Now, here's one I'm going to take us back to our sectional stars day at racing.com. The hungry heart theory is I'm calling this one. I reckon they spent their pennies on this horse first up in the Oakley Plate. She used a lot of herself that day. Her last 200 metres was more than 4 lengths below standard in the Oakley Plate. She was gassed in that race. Then she has to come up to Sydney. Normally she tackles 1,000 metres first up, where she was 4 from 6 going into this preparation fresh. They spent those pennies in the Oakley Plate. I think she came up here a bit of a flat horse. So whether or not you want to stay with her this preparation, I don't know. All I'm saying is the reason why the money didn't land on Saturday, she'd spent her pennies in Melbourne.
It's a really interesting point, because we've seen horses sort of, have that first up runner, just bust them for the rest of the prep and they can't come back. Clearly, the camp have decided we need one more run to probably get to the Galaxy in 2 weeks' time, because I'm assuming that's where she'll go. But it's an interesting point you raised. Maybe she is busted for the prep. It'll be interesting.
Just to explain the hungry heart theory to those that are just tuning in, when she won the flight stakes in Sydney, she was off the map to win the 1,000 guineas a week later in Melbourne. And you and I spoke on the review show 3 days later. This is a few years ago now. We said, yes, she busted the clock in the flight states. That's why the market truckloaded it into odds on for the 1,000 guineas. The reason why she couldn't do it is because she went flat off the back of that one. And I think that's what's happened to IME on Saturday.
Yep. Race 8, Steffi Magnetica, $7.50 into $5.50. This was a hot race, and I was surprised that where I thought this horse was going to map that they supported her. Unplaced. Look, I like the fact that there was market support for her, so they love her. What do we do with her?
Well, she over-raced, and it was a soft tempo. When she won the Group 1 Stradbroke Handicap, it was a fast tempo. They're about 2 lengths above standard through the first 800 metres. So she's a mare that needs a good, genuine tempo. She didn't get it on Saturday. She over-raced. She'll keep for another day.
Race 9, A La Calance. I've said it wrong, but that's what I'm saying. It was hammered. $5.50 into $2.80. market hits, got this right big time, leads, and sort of you look at it and you go, geez, it looked like a low win, but there might be more to come with this horse.
Yeah, look, the key was the market support first up, and it had the ratings to be competitive in this race, and it had the right weight to go out and win first up at this trip, 53 kilos. Timmy Clark in the saddle does a lot of work for Gain Adrian. When that market support came, I knew straight away that this horse was either going to win or something was going to go wrong, because they just don't do that in the market space and not run well with that type of profile. So the thing is if you look at this horse's sectionals, they're very even. Okay. So there's no sharp turn of foot at any point in time. So the key now is it probably goes to a race like the Chairman's. Do they go to the Tancred? But this is probably now going to be your Sydney Cup horse, I would think.
Okay, very good. And in the last race, you were with this horse as well. The market was as well. She's an A-lister, $10 into $5. Misses, runs unplaced. What are we doing with this horse now? Because market likes it sort of on a continual basis. Are they going to like it next start, or have they said, when just about had enough?
Well, she pulled up with cardiac arrhythmia. Okay. So there's a genuine reason for the failure. And I think you just watch the market next time she goes around and wait and back her late rather than trying to – I mean, we got the good price last week, but unfortunately it didn't serve us well on Saturday.
That's the hits and misses this week for the PointsBet market. All right, in the Fox's Den here, Nico. So just horses we can put in the black book that the punters can follow, something that you caught your eye. It's just the one horse I think you've got for me, and it comes out of that 1,000-metre race.
Yeah, Komochi. She was having her first go at 1,000 metres. She ran, I think, the third fastest last 200 metres of the entire day, showed good sharpness. She's $26 for a TJ Smith with the likes of Switzerland falling off and a couple of these other sprinters not quite measuring up. Don't know where the 3-year-olds are at. I just think she's a great each-way play for your futures punters out there, Julesy. So $26 with PointsBet, I'd go and grab a bit of that each way. I would think that that's a natural progression for her. She's already a Group 1 winner at a handicap over 1,400 metres. Clearly, they've gone to the 1,000 metres first up because they want to go probably to a Group 1 at some point this preparation over a shorter trip. Maybe she goes to the Galaxy in a couple of weeks and then she goes on to the TJ Smith, or maybe she goes straight to the TJ Smith. Either way, take the $26.
Very good. Some good advice there from Nick Ashman. She was outstanding through the line for a distance that clearly was not going to be in her profile. That is in the Fox's Den. All right, here to have a bit of fun here now, Nico. A new segment called Through the Line, where we'll just throw 4 or 5 topics each week at each other, and we'll just do some rapid fire, straight off the head commentary around what we think, and obviously then the punters can get involved and have their opinion as well. I don't know if you saw on Friday night, though, we're going to do it in the tradition of just the new graphics, the new sort of scoreboard bugs that were around with the AFL. So for the punters out there, the viewers out there, your screens are not going weird. This is just how broadcast works nowadays. So first one off the top of the segment, would you send Switzerland to stud now?
No, look, give him one more run. Try the all-age stakes. He did improve a bit off his Lightning Stakes rating. I don't think his trials were much good coming into this preparation. It was a tad disappointing in the Lightning. It was disappointing again last weekend in the Canterbury Stakes, but I'd probably give him one more go in that all-age stakes to try and at least bag a Group 1 placing before he goes to stud, Jules. Now, question for you. All-Star Mile on Saturday. What did you make of it? What do you do with it going forward?
Well, I think the race was quite a tactical, good race to watch. But I think overall, if you've got less than 8 runners in it, in terms of the way we speak and the way we look at it in terms of turnover, it's probably a debacle. You just got to at least have, you got to at least have 8. And to be honest, when a race, the All-Star Mile, is worth 2.5 or 3 million, you really want 14 runners. Now, for that to occur, I think we have to go to a handicap. I think we have the Toorak in Victoria in the spring. I think a 1,600-metre handicap in the autumn would fit beautifully. Then you've got the option to go to an Australia Cup. You've got the option then to go to a Doncaster. You just open up the opportunities. And I think for a country that was built on handicaps, let's play back into that space, because that's what our best races are the handicaps. So I'd make it a handicap. Hopefully they can do that, and then obviously you're going to get some competitive horses, and hopefully you still get the good ones that want to run in it and win in it. Have you got a thought on that, on the race in particular?
Yeah, I'd double down on that and say I agree with you, but I'd bring it back to a handicap where you've got a guaranteed 15 kilos spread in the weights, I should say. You've got a top weight of 62 kilos and a bottom weight of 47. You have a 0 to 80 qualifier, a 0 to 90 qualifier, and a 0 to 100 qualifiers, and they each carry a maximum of either 47, 52, or 57 kilograms. So then you can get Mr. Brightside, who's got a domestic rating of 120. He can still line up carrying 62 kilos, so he's not poorly rated if you go against the domestic rating or the benchmark system. But you can also get your battlers horses, going back to what they tried to get in that first couple of editions of the All-Star Mile. You can get them through. You can run the qualifiers. You can generate interest. I reckon that's the way to do it.
Not bad. Left field. I don't mind it. Another one for you. Wotan in the slipper and just the slipper overall. What are we doing here with this race? Because it's only 2 weeks out now, so, there's not much time left.
So what happened with Wotan is on debut he ran, his overall time was okay, Jules, but it was the late splits that got everyone in the ratings world going, ooh, what's this going on here? And so if you do ratings, you look at the overall time. If something's coming off a slow tempo, you've got to bonus it. So everyone gave Wotan a really big bonus. Now, the problem with giving horses bonuses is if they're young horses, you don't actually know if they can run to that mark. You're just saying, well, I've got to bonus it because I don't want to miss the price on this next time it goes round. The thing is now that he's gone up in distance, now that he's gone into races with a little bit more pace, he's not actually running to that figure. So maybe he's just a horse that likes a soft tempo where he can sprint through the line. Off what happened on Saturday, surely he can't win a golden slipper. He had every opportunity. He trailed beautifully behind those horses in front. And then you look at the splits. So I'll read them out to you between comparing Tempted and Tenturous, who ran on Saturday. God, they couldn't have chosen two harder names, could they? So 1,000 to the 800 metres, the splits, Tenturous ran 11.44, almost half a second faster was Tempted at 10.96. 600 to 400, 11.24, versus 10.96. That's when Tenturous started to bring back or peg back on the filly. 400 to 200, 10.64 to Tempted. She ran faster, 10.80 to Tenturous. And then last 200 metres, almost identical, 11.36 to Tempted and only 11.28 to Tenturous. My point I'm making here is Tempted did so much more work in the run, yet on the line, she was almost as strong as Tenturous. So therefore, I think the fillies race was vastly superior to the Colts. Wotan was beaten. He had his opportunity to win off a moderate tempo and he couldn't do it. I can't have him in the slipper. One caveat on all of that.
The Chris Waller Grand Final, isn't it?
That's right, mate. We see it with Via Sistina. She's got her own island, very elegant. She has her own island. Maybe we're going to have a Wotan island as well. These horses, when they get into their grand finals, Chris knows how to get them to the peak at the right time.
You got one more for me, mate?
Of course I do, Jules. I want to come back to you now. Speaking of grand finals and fillies going to new levels, this Treasure the Moment down there on my stuff, she has gone absolutely through the roof in that CUNY Stakes on Saturday. I want to know what you think. Is she the big thing in Australia right now?
Yeah, she's a ripper. There's no doubting that. I'm not going to get, too overexcited, but I just love her. I mean, she's hammered in betting, $1.75 into $1.50. They've gone about 1 3/4 seconds inside standard time. She's gone 1,400 first up, did what she wants. She's versatile, Nico. This is the key here. Damien Lane can put her wherever she wants. If they decide, let's find some backsides, which they sort of did on Saturday, they can do that. If they want to go, let's sit outside lead or lead, they can do that. How much do we know when versatility just adds so much to your ability to be able to win races, especially in Australia? So she goes to the Vinery now. I think she'll be really hard to beat. I think she starts in the red and I expect her to probably win. And then I think they're going to probably push on to the Oaks. Now, I've got no doubt as a 4-year-old, 2,000 metres or 2,000 metres plus is not going to be her a go. I think 2,000 metres they'll probably have a crack at. But I think a race like the Empire Rose in the spring over 1,600 metres is just going to be right up her alley. And then, it possibly could she end up being a Cox Plate horse? Well, maybe. But at the moment, she's the best 3-year-old filly in Melbourne by far. She's probably going to show it from 1,600 metres plus, obviously in the autumn, that she's probably the best filly in Australia. She is a ripper. But what the key factor is and what we should always love when we play in the space we do, we're looking for high percentage plays, is her versatility. And she's got it in spades. That, my friend, is the show. We are done and dusted. Thank you very much.
We're good?
We are good.
Are you happy with it, boss?
You're out.
I'm out. Okay.
Peace. See you Thursday.
Oh, maybe.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.